Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Ruralpreneur podcast. This is Terrence Hughes here with you, and I've got a guest here today. His name's Nash Faulk. He and I actually have just met on the internet over the last year or two and kind of chatted back and forth through LinkedIn about a variety of topics, honestly. But today we're going to be talking about growth and mindset and, how to scale your business online as we always do here. And so, Nash, yeah, tell everybody about yourself, kind of give us an intro, give us your background.
Tance, thank you for the invite. Happy to be here. Okay, I'll keep it short. So, background, I tell everybody that I went to school for basketball. So, I'm from Minnesota originally. Basketball was kind of like everything to me. I was going to the NBA. So, I'll also say quickly, I want to shout out my wife and daughter. I do have a wife and daughter. They're more important. I want to give them some credit here, but tell everybody I was going to the NBA. So went to community college first for 2 years. Then I went to St. Cloud State, it's a Division II up in Minnesota. When I realized I wasn't going to be drafted, it was basically like, now what do I do? And a professor said, "Hey, I think you'd be pretty good at Aerotech. Aerotech is a staffing agency." And so I started in staffing. And then I went to a company called Sports Engine. It's like a
Mhm.
kind of a hot startup, wood floors, glass windows. Everybody gets a MacBook, so sounded very interesting. So I went there, climbed the ladder a little bit, and was kind of like something's missing here. And so that is kind of I don't think I'll go all the way into it, but that is what led me to basically being a consultant, entrepreneur, solopreneur. And so yeah, today I've been doing it for 10 years, working with early stage software companies, basically helping them with the growth motion, sales motion slash branding and market positioning.
Gotcha. And so you don't focus on any one specific thing, right? But you just kind of focused on growth in general, like any way that you can help a company or an individual grow or scale, kind of in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely focus on like direct sales. Like let's
Okay.
have conversations with new businesses. But and this is kind of my entrepreneurial journey has been, there's a book called E-Myth. Have you heard of E-Myth?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's E-Myth, and then this has been a story I've been telling quite a lot. There's E-Myth, and then there is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure you're familiar with that one.
Yeah.
And so like everybody is they're an employee. They have one job, and then they become an entrepreneur, and they think like I'm going to be free. It's like actually you went from one job to, as you know very well, 5 to 10
Yeah.
different jobs. The E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth. Um, so yeah, I took that route, and I'm not totally sure where I was going with that. What was the question?
We were talking about, I guess, your growth in general. Like you don't do one
Yeah.
specific growth tactic, but you kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
help
yeah.
entrepreneurs and companies with growth strategies in general.
Yeah. So what I was getting at was I kind of arbitraged my skill set of like being able to go and talk to people and have conversations. But what I've learned kind of in that entrepreneurial myth route is people think they need growth, they think they need sales, but actually what I was seeing that they needed actual like market positioning. They didn't
Okay.
have the correct position in the market. They didn't have a brand. They didn't have any credibility. So yeah, the point is like direct sales, but we also work a lot on like what is my position, what's my branding, what's my tagline, those types of activities.
Gotcha. Now, and you're originally from Minnesota. You moved off at some point to work with Sports Engine, and now you're back in Minnesota. So tell me a little bit about the town you live in.
Yeah, we live in Zimmerman, Minnesota. I think it's 5,000. It's north of Minneapolis, about 5,000 population. I grew up in Waverly, Minnesota. That's like a population of 2,000. So I'm used to kind of the small rural area.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we focus on here is kind of telling the stories about entrepreneurs and businesses in small towns and rural communities. And so it's pretty exciting that you've been able to move back home and establish this career at home and kind of start building a business. I guess you're kind of a solopreneur right now, right? It's kind of just you, but that's still a business and that's still something you're building there in a small town in Minnesota. So tell me a little bit about that quality of life and how you've been able to establish yourself in your business while living in an area that is, smaller town, rural community, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I think a challenge I always had, or something I always fought against as an employee, was like I knew that I could work from home, and so I was like, why can't? Now that I know I can, it's like I have a laptop. Like, why can't I work from home? So I never liked the idea that I had to come in to a place, and so I've always had a vision for my life and my family's life that we would be flexible, that we could get up and we could go, and so part of me working remotely is like it aligns with the vision that I have and I think my wife has for our life. We want to be able to like again jump on a plane, get in the car anytime during the day. And so like with that, that means I do need to have a remote flexible position. I need to be able to work digitally. And so I have kind of with that vision I've kind of reverse engineered everything. Like, okay, in order to do this, I need to be committed. To be committed to the vision, I have to like find the right tool sets and the right tech stacks that allow me to work wherever we are at that point. And so that's a big part of why I'm a solopreneur and why I work remotely. And I just now at this point, I just find the right tech stacks and tools and solutions that allow me to do that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so one of the things that I try to kind of put out in newsletters and on the podcast now and on the website are tools and items and things that, rural entrepreneurs can use to grow their businesses. Our little tagline is empowering small town and rural entrepreneurs to scale their businesses using digital tools and e-commerce. And that's what's great about, the world today. 20, 30, 40 years ago, it would have been very challenging for a lot of us to do this maybe in the communities we live, especially if we were in some of those higher pressure or office environments where we have to perform, we have to sell, we have to execute. A lot of those opportunities aren't in towns like yours or mine as well. I live in a town of about 4,000 people, so I totally get it. I understand where you're coming from. And yeah, I mean, so that's what's great about the internet today. There's good things and bad things out there, but it's really enabling
Yeah.
us to kind of maintain that quality of life that we want while still being able to do what we love for a career and for a profession and to be able to provide for our families.
Yeah.
So I really like that. So kind of moving forward then, now that we kind of know what you do and a little bit about you and your values and your desires, tell me if you've got like one story that was kind of a turning point or a pivotal moment in your career, in your life that really helped you realize maybe what you were supposed to be doing or that you love what you do. Kind of just give me one of those incredible stories that's going to inspire and motivate everybody listening today.
Okay, inspiring story that you're saying. What's the thing that was like to me was like, okay, I need to
Yeah.
be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, what was that moment? What is one of those, just moments that kind of changed the trajectory of your life? Tell us a story. Tell us something that's going to kind of get us excited.
Okay, well, honestly, I think it's even within the last 6 months.
Wow.
Even the last 3 months. Like
Okay.
I've always been counterculture, not counterculture, but like I've always kind of went against the grain with, and that goes back to, I mean, this is deeper rabbit hole. It goes back to kind of like my upbringing, but with my coaches, with my teachers, with my bosses. Not that I didn't work hard. I just like I was always kind of like pushing back, like why are we doing the things that we're doing?
Mm.
And honestly, within the last 3 months, I am faith based. I do love Jesus, and there's a story in Romans where he talks about a wild olive root being grafted in. And so I finally really like clicked like, oh, I'm a wild olive root. Basically, my upbringing, I had no foundation. Like I didn't
Mm.
grow up in the church. I didn't like kind of a dysfunctional upbringing. And with that, I've always had, I just realized recently that I'm a wild olive root. And so like, that's why I'm an entrepreneur. That's why. And so it just finally clicked. I guess I
Wow.
never knew quite why. I was always like kind of different and kind of, outside the circle. And so like again, within the last 3 months, that's been a thing that's been a wow to me. And um it just and my wife even, she's like, yeah dude, you just gotta like, because I have dipped my toe back in and it just again never works, never works, never works. And so yeah, just recently it's been like, okay, I see who I am, and I'm just like diving into that now. And yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. No, I love that story. I think a lot of us can probably relate to that. Our stories might be a little differently or how we connected those dots, but as entrepreneurs, we all know that, it's tough for us to operate inside of that box, and we have to kind of stick our necks out. We're the ones who kind of come up or push these new and different ideas. We kind of challenge the status quo. We look forward, we push forward, we look for opportunities. We don't always play it safe. And so I think probably a lot of our listeners can probably relate to that. I know I can for sure. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And then I guess finally, one thing I want to ask you is what is like a marketing or a growth strategy or hack, however you want to call this? What is something that you've applied in your business that doesn't necessarily cost money? It may take time and effort, right? But what is something that, especially with your thinking outside the box kind of method, that you've done that's helped you grow your business and scale your network or whatever it may be that maybe people listening can apply today and start to put into their business today?
Um, yeah, great question. I think if I can give you maybe a couple things, I think because I actually did a video on this today. I think vision is that has been maybe one of the most important things for me. Really taking the time, and I think humans struggle with it because we get so in our lives and so in our business, but taking the time to really think about like what it is we want, like, and it can change, but it's like it gives us a trajectory, a place to move towards. And so having a vision for your life, for your family, and really like crystallizing it. When we get in the car to drive somewhere, we have a town or an address even specifically we're going to. And so to have that address we want to move towards has been huge for me. And then secondly, so then you reverse engineer. I have reversed engineered that. Like, okay, how do I do that? So like I mentioned, being remote and being digital and being able to be flexible, that's part of the vision. And so I reverse engineer, how do I do it? Now I have then had to take the time to understand my skill sets, my giftings. How do I arbitrage those giftings and skill sets? That's very difficult for people to see their gifts because it's their gifts. So they're like, what do you mean? This is just what I do. And then thirdly, I'm giving you three things, not one, so forgive me. The third thing is caring, like truly, genuinely caring about people and like actually developing relationships and not just trying to sell people stuff constantly. So something I would like to tell young people is like, start your little black book. If people are too young for that, that's like the black book, Tance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like your little black book is the book where you open it and you got all your address, your network. And so really start to build a true network, not like a network that people you just burn through and use to try to sell stuff, but people that, Tance, I think we could say we've been working on this for years now. So really care about people, build relationships. That's the third thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, those are all great points. Once again, something I talk a lot about is kind of this concept of human to human selling. Instead of focusing on just the product itself and the features and going straight direct to the sale, like, we need to focus on networking. We need to focus on getting to know people, understanding their pain points, and not always in a sales mode. You build that relationship, you get to understand the person and their desires and their goals. And then if you have something that fits that, it's going to be a natural fit whenever a natural sale whenever the time comes for that. And if you don't, it's okay,
Yep.
because that person is going to remember that you weren't just another cold call or cold email or what have you, but that you actually took the time to get to know them, to understand them and their desires and kind of the root of your pain point. I talk about pain points a lot, and that we're not selling items, but we're easing the pain in some area of somebody's life. There's almost, I can't think of any situations where we just buy a product for that product, but we buy that product to solve something that is causing us pain at that point in time. So, I think those are great. I think those are great points. And also, you talk about the little black book. Yeah. Like, today in today's instance, you can have a little black book anywhere with your list of contacts. I know for you and I, it's on LinkedIn. That's how we've met. That's how we've connected, and with a lot of other people as well on that network with other professionals. I think that's probably the closest thing that I can think of that I have today in
Yeah.
terms of meeting with other professionals is simply getting on there, and I kind of have that Rolodex of people in there. And so, yeah, just continuing to build those relationships. I mean, most people on there, I've never done business with. You and I haven't done any direct business together. We just know each other. We talk about things, we share ideas and kind of help each other out. And that's what it's all about, you know. But if there was ever something one day that you or I thought the other one could benefit from that we could sell, I think it would probably be a pretty easy sell for either one of us because we've
Right.
got that trust level, that understanding and that respect there. And that's how, you know, business owners have to approach business in general. It's not just a buy my item, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, any parting thoughts or ideas or anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Hmm. No, this was awesome, Chance. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you can look up Nash on social media. He's pretty easy to find. He just goes by his name, Nash Faulk. I know he's active on LinkedIn because that's where I see him, but he's on Twitter/X. Anywhere else?
Those are the two main ones. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for listening. And Nash, thank you for coming on. Everybody, stay tuned. We've got 2 email newsletters a week currently coming out on Mondays and Thursdays. So make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter as well to see updates and different ideas and articles that we're posting in there. And then, of course, as always, here on Spotify and YouTube for the Ruralpreneur podcast. All right, take care. See you.